And we are live. It's Friday, so it's hopefully your favorite day of the week, not because only the weekend is in front of the door already, because for us crypto heads, of course, there is no weekend, 365 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sorry, I have to lower my volume on my mobile phone here. Trading, and I'm back here for Friday for our crypto trading session with our favorite trader from Sweden. Welcome, Jonatan.
Thank you, Derek. Nice to be here, and hello everyone in the chat. Very interesting day we have here with Bitcoin dropping quite massively.
Quite massively is, I think, a little bit of an understatement. I mean, it was really a significant drop now from, let's have a look here, from the last top we made here at 72,000. We went all the way down to, what was the low, around 53,000, I think, yesterday. So 26%. Which by talking about drawdowns is still nothing like out of the ordinary, in my opinion, in a bull market. You can see here, I spoke a lot about this the last days, or the last weeks actually, about those bull market support bands. And this really is the first time since last time we broke here in August, one time through it, but since then it really is the first time that we broke, that we dropped underneath these bull market support bands, so the yellow line, the red line, and this all supposedly was caused by our favorite exchange, or former exchange, I should say. Is it called MtGox or MtGox? How do you pronounce it actually?
MtGox.
MtGox. No, I think they have like the mountain also in the logo, if I remember correctly. And why? Yeah, because MtGox creditors, after waiting for 10 years, are finally getting their money back. So their hard-earned Bitcoin that MtGox was so nice in hodling for them for the past 10 years, they're getting that stuff back now. Yesterday, we saw a transaction of, what was it, like 42,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, 47,228.7 Bitcoin. So about 2.71 billion US dollars that was transferred from wallets that are associated with MtGox to other crypto exchanges. And of course, now the market is a bit anticipating, a bit anxious that these Bitcoin are going to be market sold by all these people that have been sitting now on them for 10 years. Jonatan, what are your thoughts on that, on the whole story? Is it fun, or is there something behind it actually?
Well, what I'm thinking is I'm looking at the overall, I'm looking at the overall market. I'm looking at what the risk sentiment is currently, and I would say that the risk sentiment seems to be in the risk on environment. We have, for example, Euro USD moving to the upside. We have another pair that I like to look at when getting an idea of risk sentiment is AUD JPY. That one is running quite nicely to the upside as well, and we are seeing weakness from the dollar index.
Yeah. So I mean, look also here at the S&P 500. It's like totally detached at the moment from what is going on in crypto. Yeah.
So what's happening right now is an isolated event within the crypto market. Bitcoin is dropping because of the MtGox fear of the MtGox event. Now, we've had similar stories like this in the past. We've had news coming out of MtGox in the past. It happens maybe once or twice every year. We have something about MtGox, and the reaction is quite brutal, but not as brutal as we saw, today and yesterday, or this week. But I think if we would also see other risk assets move to the downside, I would be thinking about a possible bear market starting. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing an isolated event for Bitcoin, and we drop down to support. Okay, so what I've done today is, on this drop, I got in at the almost the very low here.
Nice.
I managed to add quite a big size to my Bitcoin position, and also some Ethereum as well. So that's my I'm about what I'm looking at when I'm investing long term in Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin is my number one focus, and then about half of what I have in Bitcoin, or slightly less than half, is also in Ethereum. So almost 50, 20. What is it? 75, 25% or something, like that, and. Looking at the screen here, we see, we can use the replay function here, and we can look at this. So first, the close of last week's candle closed right on the 20 EMA. So the 21, the 20 EMA here. Is it 21? Let's see. No, that's the 20. It doesn't matter. It's just one EMA. It doesn't really do a lot, but I like looking at the 20, and when I'm trading, I look at the 21. But we saw that Bitcoin held the 20 EMA very, very nicely here. We also hit, we consolidated above this area, and this shot here, especially on the weekly, is just super, super clean. If we lose the 20 EMA, I think, or looking at the way I've been doing my analysis of the markets for the last years, is level to level, and that's one of the most simplest way of looking at technical analysis. You add horizontal levels, and you say if one level gets broken, if one level is lost, the next level below is most likely going to get hit, and that happens almost every time. Now, the art here is selecting which level, but the level below, 52K right here, is in perfect alignment with the 0.618 of the weekly fib being drawn from that low to this high. You also have the 50 EMA here on the weekly, right at, we have lots of support right here. And then I'm sure you can pull up 10 other indicators that will tell you that this is a strong area as well. There's just a lot of things going on for Bitcoin between 50 or 53K. So if you look at the next candle, where did we close that candle? Well, right here. Not close the candle, but the low of this candle, the low of this dump is 53,550 on Bitstamp here. So what I did was, first thing I did this morning was started loading up my Bitcoin position and my Ethereum position. I think this is a really good area to buy. I'm not saying that this is going to be the bottom. We might have a move down here. Like, who knows? We might have a weekly wick down here and then close the weekly candle above. We never know, but things like that can happen. My invalidation for this would be the area around below 40K. More exact, probably 37-ish. So that's my overall outlook now. And if the overall market is going to continue to be bullish, if we're going to see a continuation of this overall bull market, 100K is still on the table. And let's say I got my, let's say you got an entry here, stop loss below here, and then up at 100K. That's still 3 times whatever you're risking, and it's almost doubling your whole investment, which is quite good.
That's a very good R, no? I mean, especially we are not talking about like a super long time frame. We're not talking about years. But if that is happening, for me, it's when it's happening, actually, because I'm very convinced that it's happening in the grand scheme of things. What we're seeing right now is actually not that bad. We can have a look at that in a moment as well. We are not talking about a return on investment of like 300% within like 3 years or 5 years. We are probably talking about a year or 1.5 or maximum of 2 years here, where we can achieve those returns. Because I mean, we've seen that. Oh, let me switch over to my chart here again very quickly. We've seen that so often in the past, and I know people watching this are probably sick and tired of this chart by now, but this is really always my go-to chart, when I'm a little bit in doubt of what is happening. When in doubt, zoom out, have a look at the all-time history of Bitcoin to really see those cycles we see over and over again every 4 years, those 4-year cycles. And in the grand scheme of things, it's little dip. So what we are seeing right now is really, we're talking about this year right now. It's nothing. We had the same after the 2020 halving. We also had like this bull run up here just to dump down again. I don't know how much that was, but it was over 20% as well here, from over 12,000 to under 10,000 again. We had this especially also after the halving in 2016. I mean, look at this, directly after halving, the price dumped very hard. Then it almost broke out of its regression channel just to go down again. And there we were talking about dumping from, what is that here, 1,100 US dollars all the way down to 800 US dollars. So that's also like 26%. So it's still there. For me, the invalidation really would come if we, at this stage of the market, without any further bad things happening in the world, so any black swan events, and for me, this is not a black swan event with MtGox, because like Jonatan earlier said, this has been on and off in the markets. Oh, MtGox is going to repay when the market dumps. I remember we had this also in the beginning, I think of 2021, it was the last time, or 2022 in January, that people suddenly were afraid, oh, all those coins are coming onto the market, we are going to dump. We also have to see, like, volume-wise, in my opinion, how much is that really? We're talking about 8 billion US dollars. And that is, of course, a large sum of money for anybody like thinking in normal patterns. And but you have to see the daily volume that is transacted in Bitcoin on the exchanges right now. I don't have an exact number, but probably it's around 20 to 30 billion US dollars, I would guess. Do you have an exact number? Actually, we should research that. Let's have a look here at CoinMarketCap, maybe.
I'm trying to find the indicator that you have.
I think it's not on there anymore. I think for whatever reason, the gentleman who did this indicator took it off. But I can actually code one myself, and then I'll make it available to you guys the next time for the next live stream, because I think it's just great, to keep a clear head, that one.
I wonder how you could do the drawings yourself. I wonder if there's a tool where you could be adding that yourself.
So, I mean, look at this here. Binance has a trading volume of almost 26 billion US. That's only Binance, per day. That is only spot. So we're not talking about, skewing the data by looking at leverage positions. We're just talking about spot. And still, of course, this is going to have an impact coming onto the exchanges. But I think by now, Bitcoin has reached a stage of transactional volume, of trading volume on the spot markets every day, that it's very well capable of absorbing that additional sell pressure. So what we're seeing, in my opinion, right now, it's a clear case of FUD, if you ask me. It's like, it's the sell the rumor and then later buy the fact, probably. Yeah, it's like a bit reversed in what we saw with the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Remember back then, it also went before the ETF was approved, the prices went in anticipation of the approval of the ETFs. It went up, 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 and from the date on where the actual ETFs were approved, we saw a slump down, I think also by 10 or 15% very easy. And everybody was like, oh, see, this is like a non-event, the ETFs, I told you so. And I think this is what we are seeing here. That, of course, like Jonatan also rightfully said, doesn't mean that, we need to reverse now immediately. And this is the bottom, and tomorrow we're back at 65,000 US dollars. Can very well be that we test like 50,000 or something like this. For me, this is like the next real area of support here that I see currently in Bitcoin, where we had back then in the beginning of 2024, this couple of days where we moved sideways. But I wouldn't bet my money on. I was surprised, of course. I didn't think we would fall underneath the bull market support bands. I was surprised that happened in such severity. But I also wouldn't bet now, if you are planning on getting into Bitcoin and buying some spot Bitcoin, maybe I wouldn't, bet all my money on that we are going to see prices within this rectangle, within this yellow rectangle. I think on Ethereum, by the way, also very nice. It's more defined on Ethereum than on Bitcoin, the support level. So also quite a nice area to buy, in my opinion. Yeah, that's like kind of my take at the moment on Bitcoin. Of course, it's all speculative, but you know, who said this? You have to buy when there's blood on the streets. I think, was it Rothschild?
I think that was Rothschild or yeah, I think so.
Whoever said it, I think it's really a good wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, if you believe in something, if you believe that the underlying network of Bitcoin, which of course gives Bitcoin its value, so the largest decentralized network in the world, is still unscathed by what is happening, is not going to collapse, and it's continuing to grow and you know, mine new Bitcoins every 10 minutes, well, then this might be a good chance to buy. If you don't believe in the whole thing, well, of course, that's a different story. You know, I won't keep you from that. I want to quickly give a shout out also, as every Friday, to our sponsor, which is the Weex exchange. You'll find a link in the description of this video. They set up not only a great trading account for us, which we are not using so much today because we're also having the NFP coming out at 2:30. So we want to be a little bit careful today with positioning. And before that, they're running right now for our community here a nice campaign where you can get 20% in deposit bonus, which is really, really high. I haven't seen that from other exchanges, to be honest. Up to $20,000 in bonus. So the way it works is, if you deposit $500, you get $100 in bonus. If you deposit $5,000, you get $1,000 in bonus, and so on and so forth, up to $20,000 that you can use for trading. And you can, of course, withdraw all the winnings you make with that bonus. And maybe this is a good time, you know, with prices such low in Bitcoin and of course also altcoins, to utilize a bonus like this. In the description of this live stream, you'll find, of course, a link that you need to use to access this bonus. And you'll also find a link to Jonatan's YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you to follow as well. Some really, really great educational content on trading. This guy, as you have seen already, knows what he is doing.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind.
I'm realistic, not kind.
I'm what you know, we're looking at the market here. I think, I mean, looking at the lower time frames here, I mean, just going lower than the daily, really. I think what we're seeing here is like, this is a really good reaction to good level here. I think what I would not be surprised. I mean, I would not be surprised to see this being the low, because
that's what I meant. No, this is like really, I think, a good zone of support there. Yep.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I mean, what's happening here is perhaps we're front running an obvious support area. It happens quite often. Like you can look at this. Let's see. I think maybe, yeah, that's maybe not the best example, but we are seeing something similar where you have a drop down here, and even though it did come down and hit this level, I think a lot of people would think that it just barely hit it, you know. So a lot of times Bitcoin will, because there's always going to be a lot of people looking to buy Bitcoin. You always find people that say, if it drops lower, I'm going to be buying Bitcoin. If it just needs to drop lower. So when you have drops like this, usually what I see is it instead of coming down and hitting this whole zone where price comes down and forms something like this, you usually have a V-shaped recovery. And if you look here on the 1 hour, that is exactly what that is, a V-shaped recovery. You come down and then straight up. There's no, you know, reclaiming the level and forming a market structure, just straight hitting the level and then a V-shaped recovery. So if you look at the current drop that we got right here, same thing. You know, you come down and it's literally going to be like straight down here and then probably straight up. That's what I'm thinking.
So for me, also the most likely scenario, I think you just show like the data from 2021 with the V-shaped recovery? Was that 2021 or?
No, this is 2024 right
Or
here.
2020.
But
Because in 2021, I quickly change over to mine. We kind of saw the same also in terms of percentage, the drops. I mean, look at this one here, January 2021 until end of January, so a month of a mini bear market, we dropped by 31.5%. Then later this year, 26%. Then again, shortly before we made this all-time high back then in April of 2021, we dropped by 19%. And especially this one is also like V-shaped. We have kind of a V shape here. We have not really a V shape here, but maybe an extended one. You could also call that a V shape, in my opinion. So this is very, very typical. And of course, it's also very typical that people start panicking a bit. Because, I mean, when I looked at social media this morning, especially at Twitter or X, how it's called now, I cannot get used to calling it X. For me, it's always going to be Twitter. It's like full blown panic mode. Even some influencers that were also extremely bullish are like totally bearish now. Like within like 24 hours, they've totally changed their mind. And when I look really at the structures we saw in the prior bull markets, when I look at this logarithmic regression, so the chart I was showing earlier, the one I'm having behind me here also, always for me, it's like, well, of course, it's like a bummer, you know. I wish, of course, we were at 80,000 now and not at 55,000. But still, it's nothing to panic. It doesn't mean that, you know, everything is over already, because we've seen with this V-shaped recoveries before, if Bitcoin is good in one thing, it's recovering its losses in a bull market. Yeah, same in a bear market, of course, but of course, losing its wins very fast again.
I think we see a lot of influencers on social media also. When they see a drop like this, they you know, they're just doing it for the engagement, you know. So if they see a drop like this, they will post something like, "Yeah, Bitcoin is over, it's dying, and this is the end," because that gets people fearful, and they're gonna like the video, they're gonna like the video or the post or whatever and share it around. But I think what's important to do here is, you know, I mean, if you were the type of person to say, when Bitcoin were trading here at 45,000, so let's say Bitcoin is trading here, okay? The Bitcoin is trading here. It's like, oh, because this was the reality for a lot of people, and I did get a lot of DMs around this area as well, saying like, oh, should I buy more Bitcoin here? Should I wait for a retrace? Like, I think I'm gonna wait. Because it's gonna come down. It's gonna come down. It's gonna come down here, right? It's gonna come down. I'm gonna wait for Bitcoin at 30K. If it hits 30K, I'm gonna be buying, and then, okay, it's dropping. Oh, should I be buying? Nah, I'm gonna be waiting for 30K. I'm gonna wait for 30K. Oh, it's too late. Okay, so it's too late. And now price is just moving higher. And now people say, oh, you know what? Now I'm going to wait for price to come back down to 52K. Down here, I'm going to be buying. Okay, it's not dropping. Okay, it's too late. I'm left out on this bull market. But where is Bitcoin trading now? Well, it's trading at 55,000. This is a big drop. So if you didn't buy here, you didn't buy here, and you're not buying here, like, when are you gonna buy? Like, what are you waiting for? We have now dropped, you know, almost 30%, I believe, from the highs. Let's take a look at this. So, yeah, not even 30%, not even 30%. So, if you're looking to buy Bitcoin because you think there's upside potential, and if this is still a bull market, you know, you're not going to get opportunities like this very often, because, you know, you had an option to buy here, and you have an option to buy here. Now, of course, you have to think about the potential downside. And if you look at where I have my stop loss currently from current prices, my invalidation is 30% lower. So 30% lower, that's when I will say, okay, I think that now we've had from the top a 50% drop to the downside. I don't like this. I don't like to risk my money anymore. At that point, I will start to look at reaccumulating Bitcoin if it's the end of the bull market at around a 60 or 70% drop to the downside, right? And I'm okay with risking 30% of my investment for a 100% move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we really see something like 50, 60, 70% of a downside, where, of course, when the bull market is over, that would go, of course, against anything we've seen so far in the history from bull markets in Bitcoin. I mean, we just again need to look at this chart, and you can always see that before the bear market starts, we always break out of this green lower channel of our logarithmic regression. So this zone here, this is like the true bull market frenzy, and this happens around 200 to 300 days after the halving. So there's still plenty of time. We're talking about beginning of November 2024, potentially until February of 2025, sorry, where this frenzy starts. And of course, we can still see a lot of up and downs. But should we, what Jonatan just said, really see that price reverses by like 50, 60, 70%, well, then we are really talking about the bear market already again. Here we had 83%, so a lot more, of course. Here we had even, it was only 77%.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, we would also have to talk then about a break in structure of Bitcoin's behavior. Because if this really happens, then this 4-year cycle of 3 good years and 1 bad year for Bitcoin would be over, because that is what we've seen so far since, really since Bitcoin has been trading. So I'm talking about this one here, obviously. Since 2013, 2014 bear market, then 4 years later, 2018 a bear market, 2022 a bear market. And so far, the pattern is repeating itself. I don't see why that should be changing, at least at the moment. But should it be changing? Well, then really the dices and theories, including my own theories about Bitcoin, need to be reworked for sure. Because then we are talking about a whole new structure of what is going on in Bitcoin. And then I also have to rethink all of my models. But we are not there yet. So 25% drop doesn't make me worry. Good afternoon, Steve A. Yeah. If you have questions, of course, dear audience, feel free to blast them into the channel. That is if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, because we're also streaming to Twitter at the same time, hop over to YouTube, ask your questions. We are more than happy to answer them by our best knowledge. And I really wonder if when we come back next week for our next live stream on Friday, how things are going to look then.
Well, I think we're going to have. I think we're going to see a big wick on this weekly candle, and I actually think there's a big chance that the next weekly candle is going to be trading back above the 20 EMA in a week. I think that is that's a big possibility, and even if that doesn't happen, I think it's just a matter of time, because I don't think this is the end of the bull market. I think people will remember this day as the MtGox dump, where it was a good buying opportunity.
I was just thinking like a couple of weeks ago, like, oh man, like during every bull market since 2017, so since I've been active with Bitcoin, there was kind of like things happening that disrupted the bull market temporarily, at least a little bit. I can remember during the last cycle, it was like this one time when Tesla started selling its Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk went like crazy with his weird rants about Bitcoin and how he prefers Dogecoin. And
insane.
Then we had like China banning crypto mining. That was like a big thing back then in 2021. I think the China banning crypto mining was like, I think that it was close to the all-time high we had there in this cycle, if I remember correctly.
And we also had China ban in 2018 as well.
Oh, was it also, yeah?
So that was also part of the bear market in 2018. And you always have these big fundamental macro events happening within the crypto community, within the crypto industry. And I think that those isolated events that are not correlated with the overall risk of other assets, like you look at S&P 500 and the overall risk sentiment. Those are usually very good buying opportunities.
That's the thing. Talking about correlation, maybe I can bring on a chart real quickly here. Need to like show the correlation to the S&P 500. If you are faster than me, please shoot it. I need to delete some drawings here first.
But you want to look at the correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P 500?
SPX 500.
Wonder if you can put them on just beside each other.
Wait, I have it here already. Oh no, damn it. That's not what I want. I wanted to compare them. So we have the Bitcoin. Hold on. Bear with me. That's not nice.
I think I have. Is it? Could it be this?
Yeah. Exactly that one. So what is interesting now, you can see like overall it's like moving usually side by side. When you have strong days and weeks in the S&P 500, usually you will see that to some extent also in Bitcoin. When the S&P 500 goes down, you usually will see Bitcoin also going down. I'm saying usually because you have, of course, also times where they deviate a bit from each other, and this is something we are seeing right now. Look at the last days.
That's completely normal. But I think what's important to notice is the structure. Okay, so you have both are in a downtrend here. You can clearly see how they're both in a downtrend, and then something is happening here. These lows, both lower lows. You have this structure here, both lower lows, and then what's happening here, higher highs for both markets.
Exactly.
And this is where the uptrend is starting. The bull market is starting for the S&P 500 and Bitcoin, and this is true for all the risk assets. Okay, and then you see, of course, consolidation for Bitcoin. S&P breaks out, drops down, but when the S&P 500 bounces on this bottom, that's when the Bitcoin bull market truly, begins. So what we're seeing now is that top in S&P 500, bottom, but now it's just shooting straight up, but Bitcoin is dropping lower. So we have a very, very strong correlation, deviation of this correlation, and one of them has to pick up, and it's not going to be the S&P 500. Okay, if everything else is moving after S&P 500, but there's only one asset that's not moving, and that's Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is not the leading market of the financial world, but the S&P 500 is. So yeah, I think we're gonna get it. We're gonna see a bounce here. I think it's gonna be very, very weird if this is the end of the bull market for Bitcoin.
Yeah, like I said, that would be like for me also like really weird, because it would totally change everything we've learned over the past 15 years, if we count in 2009 as well, about Bitcoin and its cycles, ever since like this first Bitcoin was exchanged for what, a fraction of a cent on probably MtGox back then. So we come to a closure of our cycle again. And that would like totally change everything. I'm not saying it's like impossible, as traders, as investors, we always have to, if it's possible, to be a little bit prepared for the impossible, to be prepared to that what worked in the past might not always be working in the future as well. But, just because of a drop down of 25%, which we have seen already more severe, I just showed that earlier, like we saw like 35% during the last bull market for Bitcoin, a drop. And I remember very well the same kind of discussions on social media there. It's over now. Oh, if we drop now below that, then we are in a bull market, in a bear market again. It's over. To the same extent as when the true top then later is reached, that people don't want to see the truth that really the top has been reached and now it's going down. But the top shouldn't be in. Should be in earliest, in my opinion, in April of 2025. Actually, usually around 4 to 6 months after the yearly anniversary of the halving. So we're talking about 1.5 years after the halving.
I think we also have to comment the fact that one big news is the German government selling Bitcoin, confiscated Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Think about right on $200 million worth of Bitcoin. And
they probably can do a market order on Binance with that.
Yeah.
And not move the price actually.
Yeah, but it's a big news, and that's adding to the FUD, you know.
Yeah.
So that in combination with the MtGox is obviously adding to this FUD. I think it's weird though. I think the German government should not be selling. It's you know it's about 200 million.
It's you know what they are thinking here in Germany. I mean, like all Western countries, we have a big problem with debt here in all of Europe, as a matter of fact. And they are seeing like an opportunity to get some money to stuff some holes in the budget with it. So that's what they're doing. But I'm really looking forward, let's say like 1.5 years down, or even 1 year down the line, when really maybe we are seeing like prices of 150 or 200K in Bitcoin, and some news agency picking up on that again. Oh, they sold it for 200 million. Well, it would have been worth now 500 million or 800 million or whatever. Not talking like 10 years in the future, where probably we're talking about a couple of billion euro that, or maybe the GDP of Germany that was sold there, the yearly GDP. But yeah, it's short-sightedness. But what to expect from politicians, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think, but it's such because $200 million is obviously a lot of money, but looking at the grand scheme of things, when you look at a government like Germany, I think it's still a lot of money, but not a insane, massive amount of money. And if they're, I think they would be much better off holding it for many different reasons, you know. So selling it is feels counterproductive. It feels like it's just not the smartest thing to do for
probably. I would bet actually that the average person working for the state and being in a position like this, that they can make a decision like this, we're going to sell it. It's probably not one person, but like a committee or something. And that they are very anti-Bitcoin and probably see it like, oh, this is, this internet money that is only used for buying drugs and laundering money and illegal stuff, because they just don't know any better. And it's like the common thing to say
it was
in those circles.
It was also seized, so it's money seized from illegal operations, which then, like, I guess it's also how, I guess it's a question of how ethical that would be. Like, you steal an asset from criminals, and then you hold it and make money of it, I
have a good story about that, actually. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Actually, it's a sad story. I know somebody who invested in, what was it called again? During the last cycle, there was this exchange or whatever that gave like insane interests on when you deposited their Bitcoin. You got like 5 or 10% of interest. I don't remember the name anymore. One of the big things next to Luna and FTX that went bankrupt.
Wasn't that crypto.com or something like that?
I don't remember anymore. Anyway, he invested there, and like 50,000 euros, and then he thought, oh well, my money's gone. Well, it turns out now there was some money returned to him, and he took that Bitcoin, he transferred it to a German exchange here in Stuttgart. There's like a legal German Bitcoin exchange that you can use, and cashed it out for euro. And then his Euro bank account was seized by the government, because it turns out the Bitcoins that he was returned he's accused of money laundering right now, because those Bitcoins that were returned to him came from illegal activity. And he's now, although it's like his money that he got back, the money he invested, he's the one now that has to prove that this money is not from illegal activities.
That's insane.
That's so insane, isn't it? And it's especially insane, in my opinion, because it kind of encourages to use like non-legal entities, to cash out. So exactly what the government rightfully so wants to prevent,
Exactly. No, it's very backwards.
An interesting comment here from Matthias. Huge amount of BTC went back to German government wallet from exchanges. That's very interesting. I haven't read that, but that would maybe mean that they came to their senses.
Yeah, and that's some German official, probably insider trading going on. Like, okay, I'm gonna open this 100 times long leverage Bitcoin long. Yeah. I'm gonna send it all over to an exchange, and I'm like, psych, I get it back.
Or the little nephew of some government official in the evening told him a little bit about Bitcoin, and then he changed his mind that it's better to keep it. He was orange pilled suddenly.
Right.
Very interesting. Thank you for that comment, Matthias. I haven't read that. I want to look into that later on.
Yeah, look at that as well.
Talking about macro stuff, we are in 45 minutes. We are going to see some data coming out. I want to... got me and Technic here always. Here we go. So we are going to see the so-called non-farm payrolls coming out. So the newly created jobs in the USA outside of agriculture. And we are expecting there a number of 190,000 newly created jobs, so a little bit lower than the 272,000 that we saw last time. It's going to have a huge impact on the market, so expect some volatility there. Expect especially some volatility to the downside if this number is going to be bigger than expected. That always sounds a bit crazy, like if there are more jobs created than the expectation was, well, that should be good for an economy. Absolutely true. But, the exchanges are not trading what is happening right now. They are trading the futures. And a strong US job market would mean the expectation for rate decreases in July or September are even lower. So the market would like to see a lower number here, maybe 150, 160,000. Then for sure we would see a reaction in Bitcoin to the upside. We would see a reaction of the S&P 500 or the stock markets in general to the upside. You would also see a euro dollar probably going more to the upside as well. So a weaker US dollar. Just be prepared for this, and can be a good trading opportunity, because if we see the number better than expected, then maybe we are going to reach this yellow rectangle that I drew here for Bitcoin. So this could be maybe a good trading opportunity. I don't want to encourage you to trade the news, obviously, and open positions before the news come out, because that's always a little bit of a gamble. You might as well go to the casino and bet on black or red when playing roulette. That's kind of a situation. But, if you see that and the first reaction is to the downside, for sure I'm going to build up a Bitcoin long position then, a swing trade position, that is. So nothing I want to hold on for long term, but just to trade the market reaction. Would you do the same, or you say now you are loaded up enough already?
No, I definitely say I'm loaded up on at least for this week. I think for me, I want to have more. I'm only going after price action, so I don't really care what the news is telling us. I'm going to be adding to my positions based on what price is telling me. So if we drop lower, I'm gonna keep on buying probably on a weekly basis. If we drop lower, unless my invalidation level is hit, I'm also going to be buying if Bitcoin gets back above. Probably back above, like, I don't know, 60, 65, 65K. Probably going to be adding some there as well, because that tells me that there's definitely strength in the market. I think that's my plan.
I wonder, like, in a year from now, when we are doing this live stream, we're probably going to remember this exact live stream with the things we said, and then let's see how it played out, the whole thing.
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe we're trading at 10,000 then. Then nobody wants to stream anymore, because nobody cares about Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah, but also you never know. I mean, we might. I mean, I'm not looking at I'm not looking at the fact of being right or wrong, but we're just trying to look at what's the most probable outcome here, and how can we make money, and how can we bet on what we think is the most probable outcome, but also how can we, of course, preserve our capital and limit the losses if we're wrong about that being the highest, or that not happening, because there is always the possibility of the completely reverse happening. So we might drop down to like 25K. It's going to be a bear market. Like nobody knows. But I think, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, in the next few months here for Bitcoin, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's not so much about price. It's especially if you are new in trading, not about getting the lowest point of a price as your entry and getting the highest price point as your exit. That is pure luck, if you happen to do that. So be ready to scale into the markets. But as a trader and investor, I mean, what we are doing here is we are looking for patterns that repeat themselves with a high level of confidence. It's nothing else than that. And I think that's something we humans are actually quite good in, to finding patterns. Probably that stems from, us still being pre-humans back then, going through the jungle and looking for the lion or the tiger somewhere hidden in the leaves. That's probably why we are quite good in seeing patterns. That is not always to our advantage. And you know what I mean by, if you look at the clouds, the longer you look, you tend to see things as well. It's the same for the markets. The longer you look, especially at the lower time frames, the more things you think you are seeing, when in reality it's just your brain teasing you. That's why I'm such a friend of, when you trade the lower time frames, every now and then, take a shot like this, zoom out a little bit to not forget the picture, the whole picture that we are seeing there at the moment. And let's see how it plays out. For sure, as I said right now, I already obviously bought when we hit those bull market support bands. Have been very vocal about this as well. So that was at 61.5 and 62,000 or 62,500 back then. For sure, if we are going to see prices today or the next days trading somewhere between 50 and 52,500, I'm going to add to my position. Not only the swing trading position, which probably I would sell then again at 60,000 or something, but also to my long-term positioning, DCA a little bit more in there and take the chance there. And if we really see that drop to the lower levels, so like Jonatan said, below 30,000, 37,500, if we see in what should be a bull market breakdown underneath this green band here of a logarithmic regression, that would for me also be a sign that things are changing, that we are probably not going to see this pattern anymore that we had in the past, and that at least from a price point of view, I would need to overthink my position again. And I think that pretty much brings us to the end of the live stream. Anything you still want to add?
No, I think I would love. I'm going to look up the see what Matthias said. The German German government moving Bitcoin back to
very interesting. If you're still on here, Matthias, maybe you can share with us. Do you have a source for that, a link or something, or where did you read it so we can look it up? Because that's really very, very interesting. And as a German, I say this actually highly unusual.
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't like the conditions of the exchange they wanted to trade it with.
Maybe.
No, we only want to pay 0.06.
Exactly.
Well, then you should come to Weex. You only Weex, you only pay 0.06%.
That's right, guys. That's right. No, I think that's it. I'm very interested to see how this turns out, and when we do get a bounce here for Bitcoin, for people looking to trade altcoins. All right, that's the source right there.
I wanted to show. I wanted to click on it, but okay. Thank you. It's from Arkham Intelligence. Okay, this is like a company deciphering what is going on the blockchain.
Okay, so they have the German government wallet here. Okay, yeah, we're
going to have a look at this, and then potentially we can talk about as latest the next time. Next Friday, for sure, we're going to have more trading also again. But I think I mean, we talked about trading. We actually shared where we are planning on entering, or Jonatan already has entered, of course, also. And yeah, guys, you can always keep track, of course, by following us here on YouTube. As I said, please do me the favor and also follow Jonatan on his great channel. You can find us obviously on Twitter as well. I think I didn't put the link this time underneath, but I'll do that now. And yeah, see you next time for more trading action again. Let's see what PopCut is then doing. If we find some great entries there. Has become my favorite meme coin to trade. My God.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone, and thank Dirk for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.